This current version of Liverpool might just be the scariest we've seen in a long time. Heck, even Opta's predicting Liverpool to win the league right now, and that's not the only competition they've been incredible in. That 4-0 win versus Leverkusen in the Champions League meant Liverpool's return back to Europe's Premier Club competition was 4 games played, 4 games won, the only team with a 100% record in the competition. Based on everything we've seen so far, the big question is Liverpool actually good now? For starters, they're flying. Top of the league after the last international break of the year, they didn't get there by accident. Something special really is happening at the club. When Arne Slot took over, the expectation was that Liverpool would struggle a bit in terms of the transition and that it would take them a while before they could really kick into the gears similar to Klopp. But it's been a whole lot faster than expected. Still need this to sink in. How are they playing this brand of amazing football then? It's Slot's Liverpool now, but there's a subplot to it too. Because when you look at the team, just how much of Slot's team is it? In the summer transfer window, the only 2 major incomings were Federico Chiesa and Giorgi Mamardashvili. Chiesa's minutes have been restricted due to injury and fitness concerns, and the Mamardashvili deal only gets to come into effect next summer, so in reality, it's been the same squad from last year. How has Arne Slot managed to get the best out of this team then? Well, it's because they understand the ideas between himself and the former manager aren't that wide apart.
But I think one of the main things why, if they buy in, which is I believe they do, but why they do is that the differences are not that big. So there are only small differences between Jurgen and me, and the general idea of how we want to play football is, I think, quite similar.
The differences, like he said, aren't that big, and on analysis, you'll find out that's the truth. The way Arne Slot has set his team now, the main idea behind how they play is all down to one thing.
I think we play kind of different football now. The manager now wants to control the ball all the time. With Jurgen, sometimes we just go counter press and just try to attack them all the time in their half.
As Mohamed Salah said, the biggest change in the team now is that even though they want to attack, they also want to control the game. This in turn means they'll aim to keep possession and dictate the tempo, know when to play it fast, know when to keep the ball, know when to attack, and know when to see out the game. Notice how we haven't seen any crazy scorelines under Slot this season. The 4-0 win over Leverkusen stands out as the biggest so far, but other than that, the margin of victories they've had in games this season has been around the 1, 2 or 3 goal mark. What this indicates is a controlled approach, getting the job done. Arne Slot had turned this Liverpool team into an effective, result-orientated squad. Once they get that first goal, it's usually game over most of the times, because they're so hard to break down. That Liverpool backline has only conceded 6 league goals this season. What makes this more impressive is that they've been without this guy for a considerable period of the league so far. Caoimhín Kelleher has had to deputise in goal for the team, and he's shown he can do a job in there as well. Liverpool looks so solid at the back now, which has been a huge improvement to what they were from last season. We haven't seen them make mistakes too often or get caught out in dangerous areas, and even when there's been the threat of this on a couple of occasions, the structure of the team allows for them to bank up and snuff out opposition attacks. When they aren't defending, they're attacking, and in that area, they're equally as efficient. Mohamed Salah needs no introduction. Or maybe he does, because what we're witnessing is a different Salah from the one we've been so used to for years under Klopp. He's the team's main goal threat, but now he's more than just about finishing chances.
I like the way of his evolution, because he has touches last night of a playmaker, he created chances around the box, but exceptionally he had things of Messi in him last night. And I like that a guy who can score so many goals as well becomes a guy who gives assists,
Arsene Wenger wasn't wrong. This season, Salah isn't just Liverpool's top scorer, he's also got the most assists in the team. 19 key passes as well. I could go on and on about him. But the point is, Salah's all-round game has been on the up even with Slot's arrival. He's been tracking back to help the team too. See guys, this has been a huge part of the season for Liverpool so far, the way certain players have evolved under Slot.
Don has gone for Van Dijk, Mark has gone for Luis Diaz, Shaka Hislop's gone for Mo Salah, Stevie Nicol has gone for Ryan Gravenberch, who he did nothing but criticise since his arrival to Liverpool. But boy, what a turnaround.
This slaps hard, but then again, it isn't wrong. If the current Premier League season ended now, you can make a very strong argument for Ryan Gravenberch to be crowned the player of the season, and that's saying something. Alongside these two, players like Luis Diaz, Virgil van Dijk, and even Diogo Jota before his injury, they've all stepped up their games under Slot this season. The tactical changes and player improvements are paying off. On his part, the man is very sure to not get carried away.
Know a lot, but it's not the first time that we see this, but it's also not the first club in the Premier League who does this. I think the club that won the Premier League in the last 4 seasons have shown us and the time Liverpool won it as well, how much work rate you have to put in. Also the midfields, also the attackers.
Arne Slot just strikes as that honest guy who knows what he's up against. Despite all the talk of a potential Liverpool double in both the Premier League and the Champions League, which we'll get to, he still maintained times over that it's about grafting the hard yards in games. He wants his team to work hard and wants his team in control as well. As a unit, they've been fantastic to watch. Last season, we saw shades of a few issues wrong with the Liverpool team, and one of the main issues was a disjointed press. How Slot fixed that? When Liverpool presses this season, it's with a system. Again, he did say the differences between himself and Klopp aren't that much, and everyone knows just how obsessed Jurgen Klopp is with attacking and pressing football. But the difference now is instead of going all out, they do it with a system about them. The press is initiated by a front two, with Salah from the right wing and Szoboszlai in that number 10 position joining to cover the space. What this means is that the chances of them getting caught on the counter with a long ball or near interplay is reduced, because they've banked up and have numbers at the back, rather than just going all out. Slot's also been wise enough to fix what seemed to be a really big issue at the club, and for this one, we've got to go back to this guy again. In the summer, Liverpool was heavily linked with a move for Real Sociedad's Martin Zubimendi. And this was because Zubimendi was seen not just as a replacement or solution to Liverpool's need for a holding midfielder, but he was also the type of guy that fits the approach Slot wanted to build on. At the base, the idea is to use 2 players in there who are both technically gifted in offensive phases of the game, progressive ball carriers, through balls, key passes, as well as a defensive side of the game, the tackling, interceptions, winning duels, and Zubimendi seemed to tick that box. He openly rejected the club, but in the end, it turned out to be a blessing, because that's how we've seen the emergence of Ryan Gravenberch in that number 6 role. Alongside Alexis McAllister, you could argue that the duo makes the team tick. Hang on, you've made it to this point in the video and still haven't subscribed to Football Historia yet? You're missing out. With Gravenberch and McAllister, what Liverpool now has is players who can perform the duties listed above, as well as give a proper balance and structure to the team. Speaking of players, there's another improvement too. This one is huge. The way Arne Slot has rotated the squad this season has been brilliant to watch. Players like Curtis Jones, Cody Gakpo, Kostas Tsimikas, and Darwin Núñez have all contributed in large numbers to the team, despite not getting the minutes they would have most likely preferred. Slot has previously emphasized that it's about building harmony in the squad. Even when Szoboszlai wasn't playing, he understands it's about putting the team first, and that's what they've been able to expertly do this season. Top of the Premier League, top of the Champions League. Liverpool's European run this season might not get the recognition it deserves just yet, but it takes nothing away from the fact that they've been brilliant. Just looking at the teams they faced in the competition, they've been very tricky opponents. AC Milan at the San Siro, Bologna at Anfield, RB Leipzig at the Red Bull Arena, and Bayer Leverkusen at home. While they might have been slight favourites, particularly in the games against Milan and Leverkusen, or Leipzig away, they were tough matches. What's more, in this run, they've conceded just 1 goal in the Champions League so far. 3 clean sheets, and are the only team in the competition with a 100% record, 4 games played, 4 games won. From a tactical perspective, the minor differences are making it major for Liverpool. The squad is fit now and they're dealing with a coach who wants to help his players improve as much as possible.
Lots of Liverpool players saying nice things about Arne Slot of late. This is what Alexander-Arnold had to say. I said to Slot that I would like to be the defender that no one wants to come up against in Europe. We agreed that he will be harsh on me. If any time an attack gets by me and gets past me, he will call it out in meetings and individual meetings and say this cannot happen.
In the excerpt of Trent talking about Slot here, he stated how he and the manager have worked out a plan to make him one of the best fullbacks in the world. Is it working? Well, yeah. For starters, Trent Alexander-Arnold looks a lot sharper defensively this season. The lack of positional awareness we saw a couple of times in previous years has been very minimal now, and in all, he hasn't lost his quality on the ball. So right now, this Liverpool team has a man who's getting the best out of their players, both individually and collectively. The in-game situations have also played a factor this season. Arne Slot isn't afraid to make big calls, and he's been proven right with them so far. See, this was a problem with Klopp and his team last season, how stubborn the manager was when it came to changing players. Take for instance the opening day of the season, Liverpool away to Ipswich Town, and Jarell Quansah had a first half to forget. He was guilty of giving the ball away a couple of times, and by halftime, Slot made a big call. It worked. Ibrahima Konate came on for Quansah, they looked stronger, and ultimately got the 2 goals in the second half to seal the win. The point with this is, under Jurgen Klopp, you don't feel like this would have happened. This isn't a shade to the former Liverpool boss, but Slot has this ruthlessness about him where the players know if they don't perform, getting back into that team might become difficult. Or if someone else is doing better, then they're out. Curtis Jones got the nod over Dominic Szoboszlai in one of the biggest games of Liverpool's season so far, away at Arsenal. Off the back of his man-of-the-match performance versus Chelsea, Slot wasn't afraid to reward Jones with a continued start. The same has happened with Kostas Tsimikas at left-back. He's gotten perhaps more game time than he would have imagined this season, and that's because, combined with Andrew Robertson's shaky performances at times and his continued improvement, Slot's seeing this and taking note. Just looking at the quality of opposition they faced again, it's impressive to see that they've lost just once in all competitions this season, against Nottingham Forest. In that run, they faced the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United, AC Milan, Bayer Leverkusen, all these top teams, and only dropped points in the draw to Arsenal. The honesty from the manager drops down to the players as well. It wouldn't be weird to see a manager come out and say the win was what mattered in the end and leave it at that, which, by the looks of it, won't be such a bad thing. But Arne Slot admitted to the quality of the opposition his team came up against.
I think what we did really well is we defended so strong and with the whole team, so there was incredible work rate. And the game became difficult for us because there were a few decisions, at least in my opinion, that didn't went for us.
That honest remark means both he and his players know that despite the win, they have to fix up. Getting a manager who sees these things and admits them is helping the team. Liverpool is a special club for a number of reasons, but above everything else, the players and the managers or staff, it's these guys. Anfield, the home crowd, the Kop End, a place where the best players in the world, the best teams in the world, fear to visit. It hasn't been any different this season. The home crowd has gone behind both the players and the new manager. When you've got over 55,000 people willing to sing and cheer you to victory until the end, it's incredible. Now we know how good they are and how well they play. The big question is, can they maintain it? There's still a long way to go in the season and a lot of games to be played too. In the Champions League, the upcoming fixtures for Slot's team could give an even bigger insight as to how good they are. And if they maintain the same pace as they have this season, you wouldn't put it past them to go far in both competitions. Heck, maybe all the way. For one thing, the manager's certainly aiming high.
Yeah, I think I said before with the other, not that we had so many records, but with the other record, that we should be proud because so many great teams have worn this shirt, so many great managers have been at this club. So if you can achieve something that hasn't been achieved before, that's almost impossible at a big club like this.
As he said, while the records are great, he wants to be remembered as the guy who won trophies as a head coach and isn't just breaking records. He's got a special team now full of special players and perhaps the most intimidating atmosphere in the world. It's a proper time to be a Liverpool fan.
Slot, brilliant manager, absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's no coincidence the guy I think's got 63.78% win ratio.
Heck, they've even got rival fans applauding them now. It's incredible. Slot has been able to block out the noise and potential distractions at the club. Despite the talk about potential contract departures, Slot has maintained the same answers again and again.
At the moment, all three of them are in a good place. They all perform really, really, really well. And there are ongoing discussions between what Virgil said to people he had to talk with. So, And that's not me, as you know. I talk to him about other things. And let's wait and see. But I think all what he says, he's completely right in that he doesn't exactly know what the future brings as long as he doesn't sign the contract yet.
Instead of discussing contracts, he aims to get the best out of his players as a team. Salah, Van Dijk and Alexander-Arnold potentially leaving the club in the summer. He lets the people who are supposed to handle that do so, while he focuses on what his job is, and that's the football aspect of things. Liverpool will get tested as the season progresses, but so far, with everything we've seen, they're right up there now, both in Europe and the Premier League. If you're a Man City fan or Pep Guardiola, it's not exactly the best news, especially after the fact that City lost back-to-back games in the league, and Liverpool has capitalised on that. Pep Guardiola now knows Arne Slot is no joke, but wait till you see the secret reason why Pep has to fear Arne Slot. It's all in the next video.